Hello, my friend. How are you today? I have skipped 1 week and I'm so sorry, and I will tell you soon why I skipped 1 week. But first, intro. I am Nikos Balboa and this is Balboa Park. I am a trans man, Italian, living in France. I've been living here for more than 20 years. I have a teen daughter and I'm a mom. I'm a tattoo artist and I do graphic novels in Italy and in France. And in this podcast, I want to talk about the creative process as a way to self knowledge. Welcome. So, episode 18 today, and this is very cool. I've been wanting to go back into my podcast studio, aka my bed, to record this episode, and I couldn't manage to find what I wanted to talk about. This week was like so full. I skipped last week recording, and what I did during since the last time, I didn't sleep so much because I couldn't sleep very well, and I had my daughter for 3 weeks in a row. I tried to stay consistent in going to the gym 3 times a week. And most of all, I've been watching Sanremo Festival since Tuesday up until Saturday. What is Sanremo? Sanremo is an Italian singing contest that is going on, I guess, since the 50, and it's some kind of a big deal, I guess, in Italy. People hate it or loved it. I must confess that I've been living in France for more than 20 years, and so when I was still living in Italy, I lived in Italy up my 21 years old, and I couldn't care less about Sanremo, especially when I was like in my teenage years or in my early 20s. But and I to be true, I used to love it when I was like 10 years old or something like this. I love to write down all the lyrics on a notebook, all the songs from Sanremo. I have this notebook to write down the lyrics. Anyway, when I migrated to France, when I came living here, Sanremo became some kind of a symbol of my attachment to Italy, and watching Sanremo were like being in some kind of way still in Italy. But when I moved to France, it was back in 2001. There were no streaming, and no, I didn't have internet. I didn't have a smartphone or something like this, so it was very difficult to watch Sanremo without being in Italy. And during the years, this has changed with internet, and I've been able to watch it since maybe 15 years now, a little bit more. And since few years, I have this group chat that opens only during Sanremo and then it closes at the end of Sanremo, and in which I can watch the festival with my two friends in Italy, Cristiano and Valentina, and we watch Sanremo in a very serious way. For each singer or band that come to sing, we have to evaluate, to put grades on the song, but also the outfit and the interpretation, and it's quite a funny moment. Anyway, it's like a full-time job because Sanremo starts like at 9 p.m., which is for Italians a very normal prime time starting time. In France is not like this. Like often when I'm in Italy, I have dinner at 9, but when I'm in France, life rhythm are different, so I have dinner sometimes at 7 p.m. So oftentimes 9 p.m. is like my bedtime. But for Sanremo, starting time at 9, and it went on and on and on for 1 week, every night up 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. It was like madness, completely madness. So I didn't get a lot of sleep. And also I had to draw and prepare for my graphic journaling class that take place once a month. Once a month I have this graphic journaling workshop for people who are subscribers and come to the graphic journal club. And so I also have to prepare the class around the theme. So I didn't have too much time to work on my book, and I felt a little bit frustrated because I also do tattoos. And so I did some tattoos, and it was a very challenging week because I'm dreaming of taking time off to just making my book, but this is not happening one day soon. I didn't have the time to come to record, and since I skipped 1 week with my ADHD, once I fall off the wagon, I felt so blocked to continue. This is like, I don't know if you are familiar with attention deficit disorder, or sometimes you can hyperfixate on something, but for me, as soon as I stop doing it, like I fall off the wagon. It's like the term, the image I have. It's like when I'm hyperfixating, hyperfocusing, I'm on this speed train, and I do these things, and I go very fast, and I work too much, and I can manage to do a lot of things. The proof is that I already recorded 17 podcast episodes, and I never stopped. But I skipped 1 week, and so when I fell off the wagon of something I'm hyperfixating, like I fell off, and the speed train of this interest goes continue, and then I'm there on the land, like, oh my, will I ever be able to go back on this train? And so I was like, oh, I can't find, it doesn't come easily, I can't find something to say, and if I don't have something interesting to say on the podcast, why bother, and why make people listen to me if I don't know what to say? So first thing first, I don't think it works like this, because for example, when I'm a fan of a podcast, I just like to meet with the host of this podcast in my mind, in my ear, when I listen. And so maybe I hope that you like to listen to me talking about my creative process, but also my life related to my creative process. But since I had this class, graphic journaling class, last Sunday, and today we are Tuesday, I wanted to talk about the theme of the class. The theme of the class was how to learn of not to care what people think, aka we don't care about what other thinks of us when we are in total integrity with ourselves. But sometimes it's very difficult, especially in those times. I get I have this little PTSD of something that happened to me. Maybe now it's like, I don't know, maybe 1 month ago. I don't know. I don't know if I already talked about this, but I have this support group for trans people in La Rochelle, and there were a sort of fight between two person in the group, and so these two person fighted, or I don't, something happened, and one of two people was like very fragile, and the other person was like try to cancel these people around things that were completely made up. And it was very difficult because it creates a very strange mood, and we had to intervene at an intervention, like me, but also especially the charity I'm working for. like the boss of this charity had to came and say, okay, this is not the way this charity works. And it was very, very strange. And since then, I've got a little bit of PTSD of cancel culture. People who know me knows that for me, it's like nonsense. For me, it's also like maybe I will not consume shows or books or things from the past to learn about what's happening today, but for no reason I would like to go and cancel something for not being in the value of the modern days. Like, it's completely strange to do this, and especially when people try to cancel other people. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And like, despite those people who did this cancel propaganda around this person in the group, a person who were very fragile and had just attempted suicide, and it was a very, very fucked up thing. And for me, it's way more deceiving when this comes from queer people, like from a queer community, that maybe we have to stick together and we have to start to listen. And for people who are like engaged in, activism or politics, and so they are all about for the ceasefire, and me too. I am all about this, because what's happening, it's like disgusting, but especially because what I think that's happening in Gaza, it's disgusting. So I guess that everybody should be on the same page about war. War is not good, so from every angle, war sucks, okay? But so, since I believe that from every angle war sucks, why shouldn't I support people who want to cancel people? What the fuck? I mean, this got me so disgusted. We don't want war. We don't want, we want the ceasefire. But how can we want this when we are unable to be at peace with the people that is in front of us, our neighbors? And this is a good example, because I hate my upstairs neighbor, but don't tell them. And so I guess that nobody's perfect, and like, it's difficult to be pure and benevolent and ethic, but it's very important to see it. Like, I hate my neighbors, but maybe they struck a chord to something I believe about myself. I'm not going around try to cancel my neighbors. I'm going to make it up inside my mind, inside my heart. Anyway, I was talking about the class and about the idea I had, because the class was about don't care about what other people think of you, and be while being authentic and having integrity, and don't have fear of judgment from outside, because it's all about this. When we are so afraid of being judged, but probably what we are going to do is that we are going to judge. We are going to fuck up people and try to cancel them, because in this way, maybe we can hide what we want to hide about ourselves. So for me, somebody that got so little empathic and tried to cancel anyone, but also like that, for me, even if you are in prison because you are a killer, you are a rapist, or I don't know, even those kind of scam, but deserve empathy and deserve compassion. This is my way of fucking living. Like, it's so important for me this, that there is no standing for the victims, and I'm quoting with my finger, by becoming the perpetrator of violence. You can't do this. You can't fight for peace. If you fight, you are not happy. And so in this class, we in this graphic journal class, we did this exercise in which we did a list. Maybe you can try to do it. Make a list of all your outer self quality or not quality or things, like a list of how you present to the world. Like maybe you are things that people could say about you, maybe, like people say about you that you are funny, that you are gentle, or that you are lazy, or and then you present yourself as a benevolent person, or intelligent and cultivate, and you are a person like you love doing things for other people, and helping out and all these things. Make a list. You can post this podcast. And then what you're going to do on the other side of your page or wherever you did it, you are going to take a list of your inner self, your inner hidden personality. What does it mean? All those things that you feel you are, all those things that you hide about yourself, all those things that you are afraid of people seeing. And then you can check them out and see if there is some things that are on the outer self and on the inner self at the same time. Maybe in those regions of your life you have integrity, even though if they are like uncomfortable things, like I'm lazy, or I don't know, I don't know. But it's very interesting to do this kind of exercise. What we project outside often also go deep inside, and when we project light, maybe inside we have some shadows to go address. And this kind of exercise, I remember doing it with my friend Onami, and she had this book called Factless on Amazon. Maybe I will put some link in the show notes. And she has a podcast which is very funny because it's called The Intuitor, and like she talks about pop culture, but actually she used it to talk about deep level spirituality. It's quite fun. I like to hear a talk, a Capricorn, no? Anyway, so I was talking about this. So we did those kind of exercise at the class last 1 hour and a half, and I will put in the show notes the way if you want to go take this class and work around your fear about of being judged, what the worst case scenario, what people can say about you that you need to hide so badly. Why? What are those things you are afraid of getting cancelled for example? And then in the class we worked around cutting those emotional cord, and it was very, for me it was funny, also relieving. I always say this: I prepare the class that I need to take, because like with one class a month, like one workshop a month, and then we had one draw together gathering a month, it takes a lot of team, in a lot of like fantasy to put down classes. So what I do is like, okay, what do I need? And those days I needed this kind of class because I needed to fucking cut those emotional cord with those entitled, woke, queer, not so benevolent, luckily small percentage of people in this group. And I needed to address all these. I needed to address the worst case scenario. Anyway, I'm so happy that now what I can do is like on the Patreon page, each workshop can be available as just one of a kind. You can come on Patreon and just subscribe and be part of the group. But maybe if you don't care, you can just cherry pick those workshops that appeals to your soul and that you feel cold too, because you have to heal something while having fun and drawing. And it's important because this kind of, like, I created this workshop because I needed to address and see and heal those things that happen, but actually this is very useful also in your artist life. Like if you struggle to find your and I'm quoting with my finger, style, then you will realize that there is no style. So there is you playing with what you do, with what you would like to experiment, and then there is yourself. And as we say, there is, this, we always say there is only one like you, so you only can create as yourself. Yes, but if you don't know who you are, if you don't know which part of you it's like the more as more integrity, it can be difficult. And also I see a lot of people struggle with, I have to reveal the true me. A lot of artists, but also in the spiritual world, there are a lot of people that get stuck on this. I have to do what resonates with me, with the real me, who is me, my true self. But all of this is just like the mind. When you try to make sense of who you are with your mind, I guess you are fucked. And also, there is nothing wrong in experimenting styles, especially when you work on it, or especially also when, like in life, there is nothing wrong in experimenting with identities and things you want to try to be. But as long as you know it's a game, and then if you want to feel good, if you want to feel at peace, you have to come back once in a while to this part that is not project outside and that is not mind chatter. For example, for me, what I do in those days, like the only drawing I did, in addition to the tattoos, but the tattoos weren't very creative. I like to sit down and draw and paint with no purpose, or at least even there is a purpose, like if I'm preparing an exhibition. Anyway, I know that what I do may or may not end up on the wall, and it's just like, can I enjoy this moment of doing this? Can I enjoy a moment in which I'm neutral, in which I'm not acting, projecting, being, trying to be, uh, or I'm not like passive and learning or proving myself or something like this, but just being in a state of flow and enjoying the act of drawing. Okay, I hope that you didn't miss me too much. Let me know if you are enjoying this podcast by leaving a review, honest review, or 5-star if you can, or you can, if you are not subscribed to my newsletter is on Substack, and yeah, you can leave me a comment or a message to give me a feedback about this episode. And if you are stumbling here by chance, by like a game of destiny, please consider subscribing to being notified with each new weekly episode in your email, because in the email often I put some more content with like image and links and things like this. Well, actually, the links maybe they are also in the show notes, but anyway, thank you for listening, and see you, not see you, but talk to you next week. Bye bye.